Hey, what's going on, West Ave? Here's a Tuesday edition of continuing as parents, as teachers helping alongside parents. And today we're continuing with the idea of correcting fluently, things that you can manipulate, things you can control, is how you correct fluently. And what I shared yesterday, being calm, stoic, making sure that it's consistent. But also, one thing that it has to be done, that correcting fluently has to be done immediately. And so immediately, and I give you some examples or talk about some things that, interesting enough, that have just come to light. My wife happened to go over to a friend's house actually yesterday and spend some time with a friend and just catch up and things, now that, kind of loosened up on social distancing, loosened up on restrictions, sheltering in place. And so she visited a friend, and then her friend, being home from work, has a son who, as my wife described, had so much brat inside of him attitude, that he continued to talk back, interrupt conversation, be disrespectful, ripping things from mom's hand, that he would continue to defy her, her structure and her order and her demands and commands placed on him. And unfortunately, so my wife made a comment that a friend of hers, would repeat the directive, and do those things, but there was never really a real consequence given towards this young man. That he was basically talking back, interrupting, being very rude, running his mouth on his mom constantly. This young man is only, in very young grade school, and being home during this whole thing. And I had to sit and think about just how bad that I felt for the mom. And I even made a comment to my wife that, did you do anything? Did you step in? And she was really defensive and upset. You would never do that, Brad. You would never do this and never do that and this and things like that. Honestly, I think that we've kind of lost that village to raise children, that structure in our society of grandparents and uncles and aunts. I mean, and some families have it, praise God. Some families have that, where people stepping in when people are not withholding the right. The right standards, or and of course that unfortunately in America, that the lines of right or wrong are becoming varied, and unfortunately I disagree with all of that. That I do believe in the Holy Bible and God's Word, that talks about right and wrong and what right and wrong is, and that He put up a system for all things for good, for our world, for our humanity, for our benefit, and of course of some things I've shared, of things that have spoken to me and impacted me. But we've lost that kind of as a country, to do these things. So me personally, some things that I've done in years past. I mean, I was driving by a park one time, and a young man was literally on top of another young man, just like punching him. And I rolled down the window, and I started yelling, and I said, "Get off of him." Interject myself, and the boy is frozen, scared out of his mind, and I'm about to get out of the car, and he gets and runs away. And I'm just sitting there, just like, man, I can't let you be a bully, son. We were at some families got together at a creek over near the Arboretum, and this young man literally found a pipe and was about to hit somebody over the head. I was the adult. No other adults were around. They were watching the other kids at different parts of the creek, and I look at that, and I raised my voice, "Sir, put it down." Just making sure that everyone is safe, even though I don't even know who the kid is. And what's interesting enough is that the mom was right behind me. She was coming up behind me, but I had to, I was kind of frozen for a second as she came up, and I was like, I'm sorry, you're probably gonna do that. Just my inclination to do that, and I don't even know who you are, who your kid is, but she said, thank you so much. She said, I appreciate it. So yeah, it wasn't gonna end well. He had a pipe that he found in the creek in his hand, was about to bust the other boy over the head, and I couldn't allow that to happen. You guys, that correcting frequently and fluently has to be done immediately. In order for it to work, in order for the young man at the house that my wife visited recently, that if it's not done immediately and consistently, then it gets a bigger and bigger problem. That it grows into a larger, bigger problem, literally physically. I'm watching the students grow larger and larger, and unfortunately, it becomes a bigger problem. That it has to be done immediate and consistent. And have I missed the mark? Shoot, yeah, I've missed the mark. I mean, I have been lackadaisical on my job. I've been tired at times, whether it be my own children or watching other children or whatever, and I've missed the mark and made mistakes. And so but the key to behavior success, or for the student to learn, is just like us, of getting pulled over by the police as I'm over the speed limit, or if I'm doing something wrong, that catching me quickly. And in another instance that it was an earlier incident in the year, that me and another colleague were getting upset with one another. Mr. Weeks calls us in quickly, immediately, says, well, how does that look in front of the students? And I thought, oh, Knox, my example, I'm not being a good one at the time. That this correcting fluently idea has to be done immediately. My grandfather stepping in years ago and immediately spanking me for disobeying his rules, as my parents did not move as fast as he wanted. My kindergarten teacher dragging me down the hallway by the ear so I wouldn't become the brat, of not following directions, of not being corrected, or being corrected immediately. I mean, immediately, fluently, for behavior to change. And if I didn't have those things, then I don't know where I would be, dead or in jail. I mean, honestly, that I really do believe that I would, being defiant, defying the law, making a lot of mistakes, poor choices, not being on the straight and narrow, if other people did not correct or intercede, if the village did not come in and help out whenever I was screwing up, and that thus, as a whole, we as the people of the world, as the United States of America, as the people of Texas, as good citizens of Waco, as my neighborhood is concerned, that we looking out for all children at all times, holding children all accountable for all behaviors. I mean, the other day I was on spring break and I was driving through, we were in San Antonio, a teenager was out in front of me at a stoplight, like he was across the street, and he was on his little skateboard, and this teenager was tagging an electrical box right here in the middle of San Antonio with this little tag of his graffiti art. And I'm blowing the horn at him and yelling at him, and he's flicking me off, and he could care less, but that thus, we've got to do it immediately. We as adults, we as a people, we have to help shepherd and guide and train our children in order for them to be successful. Fluently, consistently, immediately. And I'm going to tell you, even if you miss it, you can come back and say, I should have done that differently. I made the mistake. I didn't fix that when I had the chance, but I'm fixing it now, and I'm telling you that's not right, what you did, it's not safe, whatever it might be, giving a consequence because of this, the right thing to do. The right thing to do. And I conclude with this story. This is all true. I had a young man, I had a full class in my health class. This was probably my 5th year teaching. I do an activity every year of where I have students. Actually, I hype it up. I say, I'm going to show you something beautiful, something I found at a store. It's a very beautiful piece, and I want you to write everything positive that you see in it. And I'll tell him this. I'll hype it up. I'll give him a sheet of paper, and I say, number your paper 1 to 10. You're gonna write 10 beautiful things, 10 positive things that you see in this photo or in this picture that I've got from the store. 10 positive things. I said, if you get 10, go to 20. If you get 20, go to 30. I said, you have to have at least 10 though in order to move forward as we use this activity. They're all worried about like, what's it gonna be, what is Knox doing, blah blah blah. And then all of a sudden I say, hey, I'm going to come around. I'm going to show you this piece individually, and I want you so you can see it. And if you need to see it again, lift your hand. I'll bring it back by so you can write the 10 positive things that you see in this picture. And they're like, oh, okay. So I bring it up, and all of a sudden it's a mirror, and I hold this mirror up to them one by one, and I've got girls in the middle school level that just start bawling their tears because they don't have anything positive. That they can't even think of one thing. I got students that write 0 things on their paper. Because I do it every semester. This was with hundreds of students that went through our middle school, and I had kids that cannot write any positive things down. It was so sad and defeating. But I had this one young girl that she was bawling, and so just uncontrollable bawling. And I held her after class, and I say, what is it? And I said, what is going on? Why is it that you're crying and upset? And she says that she's telling me the recounts of her boyfriend, telling her all these negative things, that she is not pretty, that she can be nobody, that she can't get anybody better than him, that he's just been demeaning her and kind of using her and holding like this verbal assault on her, and power and control. And so she was just defeated. And that young man was sitting in my class, like literally he was a couple of tables over. And I said, okay, I'm gonna deal with this tomorrow. And so I encouraged her, tell her how beautiful she is, how talented she is, how smart she is, that she is amazing, that she doesn't need him, that he's a loser, that y'all need to break up, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Everything goes home. Now, that day's over. I come back the next day, and she has told her boyfriend this, okay? I don't care. I'm transparent and honest, and I'm gonna say what I think, which is not always good, but I'm gonna be. I want to be transparent and tell the truth because somebody told the truth to me, which I'm so grateful for. My grandfather telling me I was fat over and over again, and I was fat. My grandfather telling me not to eat at the dinner table, and I shouldn't. I had so many extra portions. I was overeating. It was out of control, and he told me that. We went to Lowe's one time. All true. We went to Lowe's. He parked in the last parking spot. My grandfather was real, was telling me the truth, and I was severely overweight. And we park in the last parking space. And I'm like, Grandpa, why are we parking here? And he says, your fat A needs to get out and walk. He was exactly right. So, with that being said, I try to tell the truth and let people know the truth. Next day comes. She has told her boyfriend. He is mad as all get out. I start teaching, whatever, for the next lesson. And about probably 5-10 minutes, he can't sit there anymore. He starts yelling at me and telling me that I'm a liar, that I'm faked, I'm the worst teacher, blah, blah, blah. He starts just berating me in front of my whole class. And I said, no, sir, you should not be treating this young lady across the classroom like this. That's not okay. He continues to raise his voice. You're effing this, effing you be blah, 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 blah. I said, no, sir, you're the one who is mistreating a female in my class, and she is so much better than that. She doesn't deserve you. You can't treat somebody like that. That's not okay. He gets up. Oh man, he's coming up. This boy, he's an 8th grader. He's actually a bigger boy. He's playing on the football, about to play freshman ball, all these things. He is mad as all get out. He gets right in my face, cussing me, spitting as he's yelling and things like that. And I said, sir, you cannot treat her like this. You can't treat her like that. Just stoic, calm, consistent, immediate. I said, sir, what you're doing is not right. It's not okay. She doesn't deserve you. She's so much better. She doesn't deserve to be treated like this. He's mad, effing this, blah, 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 blah. I did nothing. I didn't lift my hand. I didn't jump at him. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't meet him where he was at. And see, you can't fight fire with fire. You fight fire with water. The only way to put out a negative is with a positive. See, he didn't know how to respond. I wasn't going to fight him. I knew in the back of my mind that I would be on the news, but I wasn't going to fight him. Now, if he was going to, put his hands on me, then I had to defend myself, and that's warranted, and I truly believe that that's justified. But I wasn't going to fight him. And I know that this young lady deserves just to be treated with kindness and love and care, and needs to break up with this young man. He gets so upset. Everything, the kids are all frozen. Nobody knows what to take. He gets so mad. He just goes out the door and slams it in front of the whole class. I'm calling, saying, young man left my classroom. He just cussed me out in front of the students and this and that. He's upset, blah, 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 blah. He's, headed your way, blah, blah, go find him, whatever. So the students are just frozen. I'm telling them that he's not being kind. He's not treating her a certain way. And yes, I admitted it. I said, yes, I told her to break up with him. I said, he's a loser. He doesn't need to treat somebody like that. That's not okay. 5 minutes later, the young man comes back, sits down in the chair, in the same chair that he was, with his mouth closed, said nothing. And we operated like that. I'm not gonna lie, you guys. He never apologized. I didn't need to apologize at all. I really, truly felt in my heart that what I was doing was correct, and thus, and he was so he continued to come every day, sat in the back of the class, did not participate, did not do any work. He would write these, when I'd have some writing assignment, I'd encourage him to write something. I still talk to him. I'd see him around campus. He would still be playing it was basketball season. He already finished football season. I'd watch him play. I'd still be encouraging, telling him, I'm so glad you're in my class. Good morning. Good to see you. Nothing. He would write stuff, cuss, and turn it in how much he hated me. And I'm okay with that as long as this young lady's safe. I'm okay with that if she's not under control of someone that is mistreating her. I'm okay with that. We gotta correct fluently, consistently, immediately. Village. Help our young people. And as the story went on, I had so many students out of that class. They would come and tell me how much they loved my class. They didn't want me to remember. Even to this day, I had a couple of girls that were like, Mr. Knox, you are like the greatest teacher I've ever seen because of how you responded in that one moment. That few minutes of truly believing that you can't overcome evil with evil. You overcome evil with good. Or a quote that I love to quote by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., that darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. You had to go opposite. Had to respond differently. For this young man to learn something different. See something different. Because, maybe in his life, all he'd seen is somebody powerfully harming females in his relationships that he's seen. Maybe his dad or brother or whoever have always, unfortunately, mistreated women. And so I had to show him what a real man looks like, and how we are under control with our strength, and not out of control, losing our temper. And so as it went on, long story short, those students were so kind and so encouraging, telling me how much I made an impact in my teaching, and they were so just wonderfully overjoyed to be in my class. And it took years, I kid you not, years, about 3 or 4 years later, the young man happened to walk into the hardware store, and he's the cashier, and I purposely go through his line with my stuff that I got from the hardware store. I introduce him to my daughters. I tell them how this young man is, and I talk to him. What is his future plans? Is he headed off to college? He's a junior at the time, asking him all these things, and man, it was gorgeous. He was so kind. He was so respectful. He was a different young man than who I got to see years earlier in my classroom. And I got to treat him with that same respect and kindness that he gave me the second time. Not the first time, but the second time after he learned something new. You guys, correct fluently, consistently, immediately. And with the grace that we've received, may we give grace to others. With the love, because of his love, may we love. Family, love is what you do. May we live to please him. Hey, because of him, we're no longer the same. The old has been made new. You guys have a wonderful Tuesday evening. Love you guys.